Game theory is actually amazing. It's one of my favorite parts of economics. So let's start. Let's suppose there are two criminals and they, I don't know, robbed a bank or something. The police finally managed to catch these guys, but the problem is they haven't got enough evidence to say that they are the culprits. If the police is unable to get any further evidence on these guys, they can only be charged on minor crimes and so face maybe a year in prison each. Another situation is if both of them tell on each other. If this is the case, they both get 6 years imprisonment. And the final scenario is if one prisoner or one player confesses and the other one doesn't, one of them will get 9 years in prison and the other one gets let off free. We can summarize this information on the table below. If we look a little closer at the table, I think we can kind of figure out that the best thing possible for both prisoners is that neither of them confesses. This point here is called the Pareto efficient outcome. That basically means you can't make both players better off at the same time. You have to make somebody else worse off. But bear in mind, each prisoner is actually self-interested. They're quite selfish. So they want to minimize their own jail time. So if one prisoner knows that the other one is not going to confess, the best thing for you to do is confess because you cut down your own jail time from 1 year to 0 years. Who cares if the other guy gets 9 years? Since both prisoners think in the exact same way, they both actually end up confessing, thinking that it's the best thing for them to do. Now, given that one prisoner is going to confess, there is no way the other one will choose not to confess. Because if he does that, he will end up having to go from 6 years to 9 years. So, for both players to confess, this position is called Nash equilibrium. Given what one person is doing, you choose the best possible thing for you to do. So, what ends up happening is the worst possible thing. They both go to prison. This is some pretty big stuff. The selfish outcome, because people are trying to look out for themselves, ends up being the worst possible outcome for society. This same game has actually been used to show that, you know what, it would be better if everybody who was voting knew what they were doing, but it's rational to be an uneducated voter. Another example, it's better for society that everybody contributes to public goods or the provision of public goods. But guess what? Self-interested individuals, it doesn't happen. And we're finished. Moral of the story, everybody is a snake. And what's worse, snakery is rational.